Shalom. I am Rabbi Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to discuss a little bit about this week's Torah reading, Parsha Shoftim. And in Parsha Shoftim, there are three different commands that I want to focus on. And looking at these commands all together, we will gain some knowledge, hopefully, as to how we need to approach Rosh Hashona, which is coming up shortly, how we need to approach it, and how we need to be prepared for the judgment that we're going to get on Rosh Hashona that judges us for the entire year, and how we have to engage in an introspective process of judging ourselves. So the sentences that I want to focus on are as follows. In Parsha Shoftim, the first sentence says, Shoftim v'shotrim, judges and officers, titen lecha b'chol sharecha, you shall appoint in all of your gates, asher Hashem lokecha nosei lecha, that God gives to you, l'shvatecha, for your tribes, v'shoftu es am mishpat tzedek, and that you shall judge the people with righteousness. The second sentence, a couple of sentences later, is tzedek tzedek tirdof. You shall surely pursue righteousness and truth. L'man tichya, so you shall live and inherit the land. And the third sentence I want to talk about and bring all these together is it says, Tamim tiya im Hashem Elokecha, you shall be wholehearted, you shall be complete before God. The simple meaning of the words, judges and officers, you shall appoint all your gates, refers to the gates of the cities that you're in. But the Meforshim, as brought down by the Davidovich Shalom, points out that the Sha'arecha refers to the various gates and openings that we have in our head. And we have the following sha'arim, the following gates. We have our ears, we have our eyes, we have our nostrils, we have our mouth. And what the Torah is telling us, understood with this interpretation, is that we have to appoint guards to guard ourselves, to guard our very gates that get us into trouble. For example, ears. We have to guard our ears. Not everything should be heard. There are things that are simply not something that somebody who's trying to observe a holy life, getting closer to God, should not be listening to. Similarly with your eyes. Your eyes can be used for good or for bad. You can use your eyes to see the good in everybody, or you can use your eyes to see what imperfections a person might have. So we have to guard our eyes. Our nose. We have to smell the right answers, look for the right answers. Our mouth. We have to prevent ourselves from speaking lashon hora, saying negative things about people, in fact, about talking about people. Those are ways we have to then use the shorim of our skull to appoint judges and officers. Officers to keep us from doing wrong, to keep us from using our faculties to do the opposite of serving God. In other words, to do things that are contrary to what God's will is. And then judges to judge afterwards to see what have we done? Have we used these gates properly? When we talk about judging, we have to recognize that in judging ourselves, we have to follow what the next couple of sentences say, tzedek tzedek tirdof, you shall surely pursue truth and justice and righteousness. Meaning that it's very easy for us to deceive ourselves and to rationalize our behavior, to say that, what we've done really isn't so bad. Take a hard look at yourself. This is a period of introspection. Tzedek Tirdov refers to appointing honest judges, a judge who will judge honestly, who the Meforshim, the sages, say such a judge is a partner with God in the creation of the world. We're also taught not to take bribes as a judge. And in terms of judging ourselves, we shouldn't let our own rationalizations cloud us from the real judgment. Then finally, the third sentence that I want to talk about is Tomim tia lifnei Hashem. Tomim tia im Hashem l'kach. You should be perfect. How can you be perfect with God? By observing God's qualities and trying to emulate them. Just as God is merciful, you should be merciful. As God is truthful, you should be truthful. Tomim tia Hashem l'kach refers to a person should really have total emunah, total belief in God. Emunah pshuta, simple faith. Simple faith. If you have simple faith that you are doing the will of God, then you will see the rewards. So that's the message of Shoftim v'Shotrim. And there's a story, an interesting story that was told demonstrating what simple faith might mean. The Shalach Kodesh gave a sermon in the shul, and his sister's husband heard this sermon, and in it he said that at Rosh Hashona everything is declared, everything is decided. It's decided how much money you're going to make. Whether you exert yourself a little or a lot, it's decided what you're going to make. The next day, his brother-in-law comes home, and he's home very late, and he tells his wife, I was busy and spending extra time praying and studying a little bit, and now I'm going to sit down and say Psalms. And he starts doing that. And the wife says, wait a minute, you got to go to work. We've got to make a living. And he says, look, I was in shul and I heard your brother, the Shalach Kodesh, say that everything is determined at Rosh Hashona regardless of how much you exert yourself. So I'm going to exert myself less, spend more time studying Torah, and we'll see what happens. And the wife tries to talk about it. She says, no, that's not what he meant. And he says, no, absolutely. I have faith. I have emunah in God. This is what will happen. She runs back to see her brother, the Shalach Kodesh. She says, what did you got to be careful what you say to people. You said in your sermon that everything is decided Rosh Hashona regardless of your exertion, and now my husband thinks that he could just sit and study Torah all day. How are we going to make a living? He says, don't worry about it. If he truly believes that, everything will work out okay. She goes home, and shortly after there's a knock on the door, and a man comes and he says, I see this horse and buggy outside, nobody's using it. Would you like to rent it to me? So the husband hears it. He says, yeah, I'll rent it to you for a small amount. So the guy rents it. He goes and takes the horse and wagon. And it turns out this guy is a highwayman. He would make his living by robbing people on the highway, stopping them, taking all their valuables. And he buried them in a pit. And he went to dig up the valuables. And so he went to dig them up and loaded them onto the wagon that was drawn by this horse. And after he had everything loaded, he decided he's going to go jump into the hole one more time to see if he didn't forget something, if he didn't miss something. And when he did, the walls of the hole collapsed around him, killing him. Meantime, the horse begins getting hungry. Nobody's taking care of him, so the horse does what a horse normally does. Returns to his master. He goes up to the master's house, to the the husband who is busy now studying Torah, and all this wealth is on there. And they see that now there's somehow they came into all this wealth, they didn't know how. And she goes back to her brother, tells him what happened. She says, normally, a lot of people say they have a emunah in God, faith in God, but they don't really prove it. If he had not had this emunah, he would not have had this treasure. But it's the fact of having this emunah, this faith, that gave him the treasure. And the fact of emunah in our life, coupled with living a life of truth, living a life where we're judging ourselves introspectively properly, will lead us to a more fulfilling life and lead us to go into Rosh Hashona as confident that we will do what we need to do, and with God's help, God will provide for us whatever our needs are. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful